Folding the Houston Comets, 2008. The Houston Comets were the WNBA. 4 straight championships from 1997 to 2000, Cynthia Cooper dominating, Cheryl Swoops redefining versatility, Tina Thompson carving her way into legend status. They weren't just a team, they were the league's first dynasty, and the WNBA let them die. In 2008, the Comets folded due to financial instability, but the truth is simple, the league didn't fight hard enough to save them. Imagine the NBA letting the Boston Celtics fold in the 1960s. That's what this was. The Comets gave the WNBA credibility, a legacy, and a championship standard. Killing them ripped out the league's roots. Houston fans felt betrayed, and the league lost its strongest cultural anchor. To this day, Houston hasn't returned, and it's a permanent scar on the WNBA's history. Quick pause. If you're deep into this breakdown already, don't just lurk. Hit subscribe. We dig into the raw, unfiltered history of the WNBA every week, exposing the mistakes and the legends the mainstream won't touch. Join the crew, because these stories aren't stopping anytime soon. Contracting the Sacramento Monarchs, 2009. The Sacramento Monarchs were loyal, successful, and relevant. They won the 2005 championship, had a committed fan base, and played with a rugged style that fit their city. And yet, in 2009, the league let them fold. It wasn't about basketball, it was about neglect. Sacramento wasn't glamorous, but it was passionate, and passion matters in a league fighting for survival. Losing the Monarchs wasn't just losing a team, it was losing legitimacy. The WNBA proved it couldn't protect a market, even when that market proved it could win. Monarchs fans never forgave the league, and Sacramento never got its shot back. That one collapse left a permanent hole in the West. Rushing the early expansion era, 1999-2000, Miami Sol, Portland Fire, Cleveland Rockers, Charlotte Sting gone, all those logos, all those jerseys, all those hopes, gone in a blink. The WNBA rushed expansion at the turn of the millennium, adding too many teams without the infrastructure to support them. The league was young, fragile, and still trying to figure out who its audience was. Instead of building carefully, they went for growth too quickly. And when the money didn't flow, contraction followed. The fallout? Fans in multiple cities learned not to trust the league. The brand became unstable. Players lost jobs. The WNBA looked like it didn't know what it was doing. Expansion should have been the league's way to grow its footprint. Instead, it became a lesson in overreaching and under-delivering. The 2003 Orlando Miracle relocation. The Orlando Miracle weren't just a team, they were Florida's shot at pro women's basketball glory. But in 2003, they packed their bags and became the Connecticut Sun. On one hand, it worked. Connecticut embraced the team, and the Sun became one of the most stable franchises in WNBA history. But Orlando never recovered. Florida, one of the richest recruiting states for women's hoops, was left without a pro team. The league traded long-term vision for short-term survival. Imagine if Florida had stayed in the W. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and countless young stars from the region would have had a hometown stage. Instead, Orlando was erased, and the league lost a pipeline market it desperately needed. The Sun thrived, but the W lost Florida forever. Lack of proper TV deals in the 2000s. The 2000s had the WNBA's greatest talent pool, Lisa Leslie dunking, Tamika Catchings grinding, Diana Taurasi taking over, Cheryl Swoops still dominating, and hardly anyone saw it. Why? Because the league buried itself on obscure cable slots and inconsistent broadcasts. Instead of putting stars in prime time, they were hidden. Fans who wanted to watch couldn't. The WNBA had the talent to explode, but the exposure of a backyard league. And when fans don't see stars, stars don't grow into legends. That's why so many of the league's all-timers are underappreciated. The WNBA didn't just miss TV deals, it missed history. Entire careers passed by without the spotlight they deserved, and the league has spent years trying to dig out of that media grave, marketing stars as role models instead of killers. In the 2000s, the WNBA had firepower: Diana Taurasi, Tamika Catchings, Lauren Jackson, Cheryl Ford. But instead of promoting them as killers, the league pushed role model branding. Commercials showed players smiling with kids, doing community work, or being accessible. Nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't enough. Fans don't tune in for good examples. They tune in for competition, rivalries, and drama. While the NBA leaned into Allen Iverson's swagger and Kobe Bryant's cold-blooded persona, the WNBA played it safe, selling wholesome instead of thrilling. That meant fewer headlines, less mainstream buzz, and an image problem that lasted for years. The league finally shifted in the 2010s, pushing rivalries and personalities, but by then, years of momentum were already lost. Mishandling Chamique Holdsclaw's career and mental health. Chamique Holdsclaw was supposed to be the superstar of the WNBA. A generational scorer, dubbed the female Michael Jordan, she had hype the league had never seen. But when Holdsclaw battled depression and mental health struggles, the league wasn't ready. There was no infrastructure, no push to support her, no effort to protect her legacy. Instead, she faded out, her career shortened, her story unfinished. The WNBA's inability to support its first megastar off the court wasn't just a personal failure, it was a league failure. If Holdsclaw's career had been handled with care, she could have been the cultural face of the sport. Instead, she became another what if. Not protecting the Detroit Shock market, 2009 relocation. The Detroit Shock were a dynasty. Bill Laimbeer on the sidelines, Swin Cash, Deanna Nolan, Cheryl Ford, and Katie Smith bruising their way to 3 championships. They embodied toughness, grit, and a winning culture that mirrored their city. And in 2009, they were gone, relocated to Tulsa. The move gutted Detroit fans, killed momentum, and erased one of the WNBA's most successful markets. Tulsa was a disaster, failing to draw fans or win games, while Detroit was left abandoned. Losing the Shock didn't just move a team, it buried a dynasty, leaving the WNBA weaker in the Midwest and sending a message. No market, no matter how successful, was safe. Undervaluing Tamika Catchings' prime. Tamika Catchings is one of the greatest to ever do it. MVP, champion, Hall of Famer, and the defensive backbone of an entire generation. Yet during her prime, the league barely marketed her. Catchings should have been a national household name, an unstoppable competitor with highlight-worthy grit. Instead, her battles with Diana Taurasi and Lauren Jackson flew under the radar. The WNBA made the mistake of spotlighting Flash while leaving its ultimate warrior in the shadows. Catchings was everything the league claims to value: tough, loyal, relentless. But without consistent marketing, her prime years never brought the league the attention they should have. A missed opportunity, plain and simple. Undermarketing the 2016 finals, Sparks vs. Lynx. 2016 gave the WNBA its best series ever. The Sparks vs. the Lynx. Candace Parker chasing her first title, Maya Moore in her prime. 2 juggernauts trading blows. Game 5 ended on a controversial no call, Parker sobbing as she finally lifted the trophy. It was dramatic, emotional, historic, and yet, the league let it vanish into obscurity. Poor promotion, bad TV slots, no hype machine. If this were the NBA, it would have been replayed every June. Instead, most sports fans didn't even know it happened. The league failed to capitalize on its single greatest showcase, wasting what should have been its turning point moment. Downplaying Diana Taurasi's suspension, 2012. When Diana Taurasi was suspended overseas in 2012 for testing positive for a banned substance, the WNBA faced a moment of truth. Taurasi wasn't just any player. She was the face of the league, the one name casual sports fans actually recognized. Instead of taking control of the narrative, the WNBA went silent. No strong defense, no transparency, no aggressive PR to clarify the situation. For months, the biggest star in women's basketball had her name tied to PEDs, and the league let public perception run wild. Eventually, Taurasi was cleared, but the damage was done. Fans had doubts. Media painted her with suspicion, and instead of coming out stronger, the WNBA looked powerless in protecting its top asset. The NBA would never have let its face of the league twist in the wind like that. For a league constantly fighting for legitimacy, this mishandling of Taurasi's reputation was a major own goal. The Brittney Griner detainment silence, 2022. In 2022, Brittney Griner was detained in Russia, one of the scariest, most high-profile stories in league history. For months, the WNBA was hesitant, careful, and quiet. Their cautious PR approach made sense on paper, but in practice, it looked like silence. Players were screaming for help, Fans demanded answers, and the league felt invisible in the fight for their own superstar. It was the players themselves, not the W, who kept BG's name alive in the headlines. The WNBA should have been leading the charge, not trailing it. By the time Griner was finally freed, the narrative was bigger than basketball, but the league had already looked small. For a sport trying to show it values its stars, the muted response was a glaring mistake. New York Liberty's luxury fine, 2022. The New York Liberty tried to do the right thing. They chartered flights for their players, giving them safety, rest, and treatment like professionals. The WNBA's response? A $500,000 fine. Instead of rewarding ambition, the league punished progress. The message was clear: stay in your lane. Fans and players were outraged, and the story dominated headlines for all the wrong reasons. It exposed how behind the WNBA was in treating its athletes like elite professionals. Worse, it made the league look hostile to innovation, actively fighting against teams trying to raise the standard. What should have been a moment of leadership, embracing change, turned into a PR disaster. That fine didn't just sting the Liberty, it stained the league's image. Late investment in charter flights. For years, players begged for charter flights. The WNBA ignored them, citing cost. Meanwhile, players dealt with endless commercial delays, cramped conditions, and even safety issues. The lack of charters wasn't just inconvenient, it was dangerous. Injuries worsened, recovery time shrank, and players openly voiced their frustration. The league finally caved in 2023 and began rolling out charters, but the damage was already done. The years of denial left scars, with players feeling undervalued and disrespected. Worse, it hurt the product on the court: tired legs, sluggish travel schedules, and compromised health. The WNBA could have been proactive, but instead it dragged its feet until the backlash was too loud to ignore. For a league claiming to be player first, this mistake exposed the gap between words and actions, mismanaging the Maya Moore era. Maya Moore was everything the WNBA could have wanted: a winner, a highlight machine, a marketable superstar with crossover appeal. 4 championships, an MVP, Olympic gold. Maya should have been the face of the league for a decade. Instead, the WNBA failed to maximize her. Marketing barely scratched the surface, her highlights weren't pushed into mainstream spaces, and rivalries weren't hyped to the level they deserved. Then came her shocking decision to step away in 2019 to fight for criminal justice reform. Maya's exit wasn't the league's fault, but the fact that her era passed without her becoming a household name was. Maya Moore was generational. The league treated her like just another star. That's a mistake history won't forgive. Pushing out expansion too slowly, 2010s. The 2010s were ripe for growth. College women's basketball was booming, international talent was surging, and the WNBA had enough players to support more teams. Instead of capitalizing, the league stalled. Year after year, fans asked for expansion: Bay Area, Toronto, Houston, Philly. And the answer was always the same: not yet. That hesitation created a bottleneck. Talented players were cut because there weren't enough roster spots. Star rookies couldn't all find homes. Fans in eager markets were left cold. By the time the league finally greenlit expansion in the 2020s, it already felt overdue. Instead of leading, the WNBA looked like it was playing catch-up. Expansion isn't just about markets, it's about momentum. The league had momentum and let it waste away for a decade, mishandling the CBA battles 2019-2020. When players pushed back during the 2019 CBA negotiations, the WNBA underestimated their power. For years, the league had dictated terms: low salaries, brutal travel, limited benefits. But by 2019, players had leverage, social media reach, and unity. Instead of embracing it, the WNBA stalled, dismissed concerns, and nearly burned the relationship. Only after months of tense fighting did the league finally agree to significant pay raises, maternity protections, and improved conditions. Yes, progress was made, but the damage was real. The fight exposed how out of touch leadership was with its own athletes. The WNBA had a chance to look like a pioneer in women's sports business. Instead, it looked like it was dragged into the modern era, kicking and screaming. Failing to protect the Charlotte Sting, 2007. The Charlotte Sting were one of the league's originals, a franchise with history, a finals appearance in 2001, and a loyal Southeastern fan base. But when ownership issues arose, the WNBA let the Sting fold without a fight. Just like that, Charlotte was erased from the map. It wasn't just a team lost, it was an entire region. The Southeast, a hotbed of women's basketball talent, lost its connection to the league. Instead of stepping in, securing new ownership, or relocating the team, the W let Charlotte die quietly. The fallout? Years of silence in one of the richest basketball territories in America. That wasn't just a business move, it was a strategic blunder, not maximizing Caitlin Clark's arrival, 2024. Caitlin Clark's arrival in 2024 was the single biggest rookie moment in league history. Record-breaking college star, mainstream attention, sellout crowds. This was the WNBA's golden ticket to mainstream relevance. And how did the league respond? With hesitation. Instead of flooding national TV with her debut, building primetime showcases and blitzing marketing, they rolled her out as if she were just another rookie. Yes, ticket sales spiked, but the league didn't seize the media frenzy. Clark wasn't just a rookie, she was a cultural event. The WNBA had one shot to hook millions of casual fans, and they underplayed their hand. Clark is still a star, but her rookie season could have been the biggest launchpad in league history. The W let the moment shrink, leaving Houston without a return team. Houston wasn't just a WNBA market, it was the WNBA market. The Comets set the standard, gave the league credibility, and created one of its most loyal fan bases. When the team folded in 2008, the wound never healed. And here's the real mistake, the league never went back. For nearly 2 decades, Houston, the 4th largest city in America, a basketball hotbed, a market starving for its Comets, has been ignored. Expansion came and went, rumors swirled, but still no return. That silence is one of the league's loudest failures. Houston deserves a team. The WNBA knows it. Fans know it. Every year the league delays, the mistake grows bigger. History doesn't forget abandoned dynasties. Until Houston returns, the WNBA's past will always feel unfinished.